1960s, a time when toys were as thrilling as they were daring. Back then, safety was more of a suggestion than a rule. And parents Fanner 50 cap guns.
If a Gen Z was to look at this, I probably would have thought this was a real
Super elastic bubble plastic let us blow enormous, colorful bubbles that lasted longer than soap bubbles.
Oh my gosh.
Did anyone else get a little dizzy, but like a...
Yo, can't you like pass out or something? Like, what fumes are you guys inhaling? That didn't sound good at all. Alright, today we're going to be going back all the way to the 60s to check out the most dangerous old toys of the 60s that are banned forever. You guys know, as soon as I saw banned forever, I was like, I gotta check out what this is about. I already know from back in the days, there was less regulations, things, a lot more could get through, could slide through. So I'm so curious to see why these toys are banned. And I'll be so curious to see if any of you guys have any experience with them or remember them from in any capacity. Oh my God, this one's gonna be exciting to get into, guys. Of course, always on my Patreon, I'm doing some bonus exclusive content that I'm not going to be able to post on here for reasons that some of you guys may know. So if you guys are interested in getting some bonus reactions from me, including some movie reactions, album reviews, some sitcom reviews, as well as all the videos that I can't post on here, then I'll definitely consider checking out the Patreon linked in the description. And it'll be great to support the channel if you guys love my content. Of course, guys, don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss another one of these bangers. And don't forget to like the video, as well as let me know what other things you guys would like your fellow Gen Zer to check out. But guys, with that being said, let's get straight into this video. Let's go. All right.
The 1960s, a time when toys were as thrilling as they were daring. Back then, safety was more of a suggestion than a rule. And parents didn't bat an eye at the toys we played with.
Wow.
If you grew up in the 60s, you probably remember toys that, by today's standards, would make safety inspectors gasp. So let's take a look back at some of the most dangerous toys we loved in the 60s. If any of these sound familiar, you may find yourself smiling.
Why am I
or
on
maybe
edge,
even
man?
wincing a bit. The original creepy crawlers.
What are these?
If you were lucky enough to have a creepy crawlers kit, you'll remember the thrill of creating those rubbery bugs that looked eerily realistic.
Okay.
But here's the catch. We were melting plastic goo on a hot plate that reached over 300 degrees.
Huh?
Burns were common, but the result? A pile of squishy bugs that we proudly showed off to anyone who'd look. After all, it was worth the risk, right? Do you remember how those...
Oh my gosh, you had 300 degrees already is like, so that's hotter than some of the slides a lot of you guys would have been going down in the playgrounds. Oh my gosh, in the summertime especially, man. What is it with this heat? You guys just had back then, there's no fear of it. No sunscreen, no fear of just heat right now and the what it could do with you. Oh, what's a little burn, you know, just a little first degree, maybe second degree. But it's just a battle scar, right? Damn.
Look, after all, it was worth the risk, right? Do you remember how those little creatures would stick to everything? Whether it was a sibling's shirt or a parent's car seat, those rubbery creations got everywhere.
I can imagine.
The Atomic Energy Lab Kit. Believe it or not, the Atomic Energy Lab Kit actually included small samples of radioactive materials. That's right. We were learning about science with items that could be dangerous in the wrong hands.
You're joking.
This kit was marketed as an educational toy to help kids understand nuclear energy. Although I think it left more than a few parents nervous, the thrill of feeling like a real scientist was undeniable.
Atomic
even if it
Energy
came
Lab.
with a bit of radiation.
Yo, dude, the radiation part is crazy to me because I'm from what radiation causes the C word, right? If you're around and exposed to that too much, that can start to like actually affect your cells and cause some irreparable damage. Oh gosh, that is wild. That's 2 for 2 right now that have got me moving shook. We got the Atomic Energy Lab. Let me remind myself of the name of the first one because, yo, forgive me for rewinding, but there's no timestamps in this. So you got the original creepy crawlers. Oh gosh. And then we got the Atomic Energy Lab Kit. Damn. All right. Let's move on, man. That's crazy.
Feeling like a real scientist was undeniable. even if it came with a bit of radiation. Lawn
Bit
darts,
of radiation.
also known as jarts. Lawn darts were the ultimate outdoor game in the 60s, combining the excitement of darts with the open air of a backyard.
Oof.
These darts were made with heavy metal tips that would stick into the ground, hopefully, but when misthrown, those darts could become airborne missiles aimed at anything or anyone unlucky enough to be in their path.
Oof.
Sure, there were a few scrapes and bruises, but no backyard BBQ was complete without a round of lawn darts. Who remembers begging the adults to let them toss a dart? The vacuum.
Do you know what? Okay, lawn darts I've heard of before. I've heard of it especially through a comedian called Karen Morgan. Shout out to Karen Morgan. If you ever see my reaction to her describing what life was like in the 80s, like why Gen Xers had it the best or whatever it was. She talked about these lawn darts or these jarts, or whatever you want to call them. And when I heard about them and what they're made out of and, you know, how dangerous it sounds, it's just mad to think about. But obviously, I gotta remember, I'm applying my modern day lens to it. Back then, I'm sure there would have been more of like an understanding, or people wouldn't be thinking of the danger as much, in the sense that they were gonna use it for those particular purposes. Like this, you generally looked at this as a toy. Obviously, me now looking at what toys are looking like now, and then thinking, why would someone want to make a toy out of metal that could be so dangerous? I gotta remember, man, that's my modern day lens I'm applying to it to a degree. But I'm glad things have changed, though.
Who remembers begging the adults to let them toss a dart? The Vac-u-form. The Vac-u-form was every budding inventor's dream. A machine that let us melt plastic sheets and mold them into tiny cars, planes, or whatever our imaginations could create.
Melt plastic sheets.
Once again, we were dealing with hot surfaces and fumes that probably weren't the healthiest to breathe in.
Man, you're melting
This
plastic.
toy was a blast, but it came with its fair share of minor burns and the occasional melted plastic mess. Still, those creations felt like little masterpieces.
That's just wild. It's just wild to me to think about. And I don't know what it is of this melting plastic crave from the toys right now. It must have been popular. People just probably like the idea of melting things, especially plastic. So look, let me know how true this is for a lot of you guys watching. I feel like this is based mostly in America, but yeah, man, this is so foreign to me. So I'd love to know if this is sticking out for you guys so far.
Creations felt like little masterpieces. The slip and slide.
Okay, this can't be too bad.
For some summer fun, nothing beat the thrill of the slip and slide. We'd lay down the long plastic sheet, turn on the hose, and take running leaps onto it.
All right,
but here's the thing.
Fine.
If you hit the ground wrong, or the slide ended on a patch of rough grass, you'd definitely feel it.
Ooh.
Even with a few bruises, the excitement of sliding at full speed was worth every bump and scrape.
Okay.
It was the ultimate backyard rush. The Easy Bake Oven.
I can get my head around the slip and slide. That one, I would probably still that to this day, even though it could be a bit dangerous. I can see myself doing that, man. That one's still looking fun. I feel like it would be worth it for me as well.
It was the ultimate backyard rush. The Easy Bake Oven. The Easy Bake Oven was a dream for aspiring little chefs, letting us bake our own tiny treats. But it was powered by a real light bulb that got seriously hot.
Of course
More than a few kids learned the hard way that touching the oven's metal parts could lead to burns. Still, the joy of baking our own mini cakes was hard to beat. Do you remember carefully watching those cakes bake, hoping they wouldn't burn? Clackers.
You actually baking
also known as click-clacks. Clackers were two hard plastic balls on a string that kids would swing up and down to make them collide and produce a loud clacking noise.
I've heard of these.
These toys were thrilling, but when clackers broke or slipped out of grip, they could become dangerous projectiles. A few bruised knuckles were a small price for the fun, though. Who else had their parents warn them about clackers, but kept playing anyway?
Okay, fun story. Yeah, I remember similar to clackers. I feel like how you just keep clacking them, and then if you, let's say someone just starts getting a bit too excited, starts spinning them around and just lets them go like a projectile. You know, I'm sure those balls on the end of a string, that sounded crazy. But I'm sure they would, if they cause an impact to someone, that'll be painful. But I remember when I was like in primary school or kindergarten or wherever is equivalent in the US, I remember that people would be swirling scissors around their fingers, And it's like, yo, if you swallow that scissor a bit too overzealously, and you end up it ends up coming off your finger and flying into the air. Like, that's so dangerous. And even back then, kids would be playing. Obviously, we get told off instantly if we got caught. But yeah, man, I feel like, I thought I'd share a story to make me feel like I'm involved in a little bit of this danger, man. Because yeah, you guys just had different set of toys. I say you guys, but whoever was growing up in the 60s and or was familiar with these toys, you guys just had it different. And yeah, that's just a whole level of danger, man. Crazy.
Johnny Reb Cannon. Imagine having a mini cannon that fired plastic cannonballs. The
What?
Johnny Reb Cannon was every kid's dream, offering realistic
Johnny Reb
battles
Cannon.
right in the backyard. But those little
What, in the
cannonballs could
Civil War?
pack a punch, especially if they hit the wrong target. It was all part of the fun, even if
Damn.
it meant dodging a few stray shots. Can you picture the sound it made when it fired? The water
Imagine,
wiggle.
man.
This toy was essentially a hose attachment with a wiggling nozzle that sprayed water unpredictably in every direction. Kids
Okay.
loved chasing it around, but if the nozzle hit you, it stung.
Ooh.
A few kids even got tangled up with it, but
Ooh.
for most of us, it just added to the thrill of backyard water games. Who remembers getting sprayed in the face by surprise? Super elastic
looks
bubble
hectic.
plastic. This wasn't your ordinary bubble mix. Super elastic bubble plastic let us blow enormous, colorful bubbles that lasted
Bubble
longer than
plastic.
soap bubbles. But the
Bubble
plastic
plastic.
solution had strong fumes,
Oh my-
and we'd get lightheaded if we weren't careful. We didn't think much of it back then, though. We just loved making those giant bubbles.
Oh my god.
Did anyone else get a little dizzy but kept blowing bubbles anyway? The swing wing. Like a hoop.
Yo, can't you like pass out or something? Like, what fumes are you guys inhaling? That didn't sound good at all. I keep saying you guys, but I'm sure like probably a certain amount of you probably would have known what that was like. But that's crazy to think about, man. What is it? A plastic?
The swing
That's just
wing.
mad.
Like a hula hoop for your head, the swing wing was a headband with a weighted piece that kids would swing around by moving their heads. It was fun, but it could leave you feeling dizzy and gave more than a few kids a sore neck. The silliness of it was half the fun, even if you had to sit down afterward. Gilbert
Sure.
U-238 Atomic Energy Lab. This wasn't just any science kit. It actually came with real
So
radioactive materials.
Okay, I just realized
The U-238 Atomic Lab Kit let kids experiment with uranium and Geiger counters. Though it was exciting, it's safe to say that no parent today would buy this for their child. But back then, it was all about learning in a hands-on way. And by the way, if you're enjoying this trip down memory lane, I'd love it if you could hit the like button and subscribe to my
Hit
channel.
the like button, man.
It really helps keep this nostalgic content coming your way.
Yeah, guys, look, this is coming from Vintage Memories USA, so if you haven't checked them out already, definitely consider doing so.
Now, let's get back
to
to
give them a
those
little
wild
plug.
and risky toys. The Sky Dancers. Technically introduced a little later, but still
Sky
remembered by
Dancers.
many, Sky Dancers were dolls that could launch into the air by pulling a cord. They had
Okay.
spinning wings,
That
and
looks
while
fun.
it was amazing to watch, those wings could easily veer off course and hit
Oh.
bystanders.
Oh,
It was part of the thrill, though. Who remembers watching their Sky Dancer get stuck in a tree?
that looks
The
fun,
Wham-O
That
Air
looks fun.
Blaster. The Air Blaster was a plastic
Sky
gun that
Dancer.
shot blasts of air strong enough to knock over cups. It felt like magic, but if aimed too close to someone's face, it could sting a little.
Ooh,
Even
okay.
so, kids loved pretending they had superpowers and challenging each other to air battles.
That was not
The
too bad.
Vac-u-form. Another hot item in toy stores. The Vac-u-form let kids melt plastic to make miniature models of cars, jewelry, and more.
For even
It
more
was
everything.
fun, but it got hot enough to cause burns, and the fumes weren't the safest.
Yeah, crazy,
Still,
man.
We felt like little inventors with it. Who else remembers the smell of the melting plastic?
The melting
bop bag.
plastic. Oh, god.
Bop bags were
That
inflatable.
can't be a good smell, though, no? Ay, man. Look, you again, man. Let me know if this is bringing back memories for any of you guys watching. Like the video we've made this far, but this is incredible to witness, man. Didn't even know why I put myself through this.
Smell of the melting plastic. The bop bag. Bop bags
Bop
were
bag.
inflatable bags with a weighted bottom so you
Bop
could
bag.
punch or kick them and they'd pop right back up.
Okay.
Fun, right?
That does look like fun.
They were a blast until someone got accidentally knocked over by a rebound. It was a harmless but exhilarating toy that everyone seemed to have.
That's hilarious.
Thingmaker kits came with metal molds and plastigoop, allowing kids to make their own rubbery creations. But the molds got hot, like really hot.
Oh, everything's getting hot.
You had to be careful not to burn your fingers. Despite the risks, there was something magical about creating your own toys. Fanner 50.
I feel like toys back then, as much as they were probably a lot more dangerous, I feel like that probably added to the fun of it. I think there's probably something that just resonates deeper when there's an extra level of, your life could be on a line, danger. I feel like you're just it's a little bit more of a thrill. But obviously nowadays, with so many toys, they're so much more regulated, they're a lot safer. I feel like they wouldn't go as far in that aspect.
Creating your own toys. Fanner 50 cap guns. These toy guns let kids load up on paper caps that made a loud pop with each trigger pull. It was thrilling, but loud. And if you weren't careful, the caps could give a bit of a burn. Even so, many kids felt like real cowboys with the Fanner 50 in hand. Do you remember the smell of those fired caps?
And they just look so realistic. Like toys in this era are just like I said, they just look like a miniature version of the real thing. Like if you're not even careful, you might not even be able to distinguish. If a Gen Z was to look at this, I probably would have thought this was a real gun. If you just showed me this, imagine you just pranked one of you guys was gonna prank your Gen Z kid or something, or Gen Alpha or whoever it is that probably doesn't know about this stuff, and you said, look, hold this. They'll probably get scared thinking you're actually giving them the real thing. I don't even know, man. This is mad.
Even so, many kids felt like real cowboys with the Fanner 50 in hand. Do you remember the smell of those fired caps? The Jolly Chimp. This was a mechanical monkey with cymbals that clashed together when wound up, and it could be quite startling.
That looks so scary.
While not dangerous in the typical sense, it was loud, a bit unpredictable, and scared younger kids. But it was all in good fun.
They had that in Call of Duty Black Ops. Maybe some of you guys might not get that reference, but I remember the monkey bomb, and it was a monkey that was really creepy and sadistic that would clap its instrument together and make a really creepy laughing sound, and it looked just like that. If this is where this thing came from, I would not be surprised, because that is mad. Whoever's idea was it to create this toy probably has something, a screw loose or something, because I don't even know. Let me know, man. Maybe that was like normal back in the day. Maybe there's just like, it's another toy, right? But to me, that's wow. Look at the eyes on that thing, man.
And scared younger kids. But it was all in good fun.
Get nightmares from that.
The Hippity Hop Ball. A giant inflatable ball with a handle. The Hippity Hop Ball let kids bounce up and down for hours.
Okay.
The thrill was in trying not to fall off or tip over, but that often happened. Even with a few tumbles, it was impossible to resist the joy of bouncing around.
That does look fun.
Do you remember how sore you felt the next day from all that bouncing? Chemistry sets with real chemicals.
Ain't that just like one of those things I just see for exercise now? You could just use for exercise. One of those like similar as bouncing balls that I see in the gym. I wonder if this is kind of where it came from.
Felt the next day from all that bouncing. Chemistry sets with real chemicals.
Bruh.
Back in the day, chemistry sets contained real chemicals that could produce small explosions, burns, or stains. But every budding scientist felt like they were discovering the next big thing, even if it meant a few risks. The Magic Spree 8 Ball.
Don't kill me.
While not dangerous in the traditional sense,
no pun intended,
the Magic 8 Ball was mysterious and sometimes spooky. Kids were captivated by the floating answers, treating it like a mystical oracle. But if it ever cracked open, that inky
what did I even say?
Treating it like a mystical oracle.
Without a doubt. Like, was this like some sort of voodoo witchcraft? I don't know, like some one of those magic balls that tells your future or something like.
But if it ever cracked open, that inky liquid inside was a bit of a mess.
Oh, the inky liquid.
Probably not great to touch.
Ooh.
Still, the thrill of getting answers from a magic toy kept us coming back.
I wonder what kind of answers they were giving.
Do you remember asking the Magic 8 Ball silly questions? Metal-tipped arrows for archery sets.
Crazy.
Back in the 60s, archery sets came with real metal
And the
tip
crazy part about that Magic 8 Ball is I just know so many people will be believing that as well. It will just tell you some random answer to a random question. It's probably just a generic, arbitrary response. I would love to know if any of you guys genuinely believed it when you were younger. That would be interesting to me. And what kind of questions were you asking it?
sets. Back
What
in
kind
the
of answers
60s,
was it giving you?
archery sets came with real metal-tipped arrows.
Metal
While
tipped
it felt
arrows.
exciting to play Robin Hood or
Metal-tipped?
practice your aim, these arrows could cause serious injuries if they went astray.
That's not even a
Kids
toy.
learned quickly to be cautious, but that didn't stop the fun of outdoor archery. Mr. Machine.
This I'm saying, that's not even a toy. That's just a real thing. That's just a real thing. Just in a miniature version, man. Come on.
Mr. Machine was a
Come on.
robotic toy you could take apart and put back together, with gears and metal parts exposed. While fascinating, the small parts and gears could pinch fingers if you weren't careful. Still, it was mesmerizing to watch him walk and clank around the room.
Wow.
Did anyone else take Mr. Machine apart just to see how he worked? Belt buckle
Interesting.
derringers. The 60s was full of Western-themed toys, and the belt buckle derringer was no exception. It looked like a normal belt buckle, but when triggered, a small plastic bullet would fire out.
Bruh.
The surprise factor was huge, but it could cause a few stinging accidents if aimed poorly.
What if that
Kids
hits you in
still
the eye?
love the feeling of being a mini cowboy or spy.
I can imagine.
Super Ball.
Yeah, what is it with like the Western theme stuff and like the 60s and the 70s? Like, there must have been a movie that was going on around that time, man, because like that's just probably how a lot of these things get influencing the toys and stuff, from what I'm aware. So it's like, I'm just so curious as to why there's only Western theme ones.
This high-bouncing rubber ball could or spy. Super Ball. This high-bouncing rubber ball could reach amazing heights, but that also meant it was unpredictable.
Okay.
Bounces often ended in accidents, with the ball ricocheting off walls, furniture, and occasionally faces.
That looks fun though.
Despite a few mishaps, the Super Ball was a staple of childhood fun, challenging kids to see just how high it could go.
Yeah, that looks fun.
Who remembers trying to catch it and getting a surprise hit instead?
Ooh.
Looking back, it's
Ooh.
wild to think about the toys we played with in the 60s.
I feel like I
They
remember
may have
playing
come
with
with
that.
some risks, but they brought us hours of joy, laughter, and memories we still cherish today.
I can imagine.
Maybe it was the thrill of a little danger, or maybe it was just that toys were built differently back then. Either way, they'll always have a special place in our hearts.
Yeah, man, I can imagine. Look, that's the same thing I'm thinking. I think it's when you have the extra element of thrill added to a toy, like it just makes the toys hit a bit deeper. And again, as well, it could have just been like you said, the design of the toys. Like they definitely seem so much more realistic. Some of these toys that they're saying were toys, I'm like, bro, that's not a toy. That's just a real thing. Like these ovens, these gun-looking things, these arrows, the balls. It's like, mate, the little cannon, the miniature cannon, mate. Come on. God, 60s toys, man. I feel like, but I guess that shows you just how much things have changed now. Like what I would consider not a toy and just dangerous back then would be considered a toy, which is interesting. I wonder what kids in the future will be looking at these videos or toys of today and go, how'd you guys play with that or something like that? Like, oh my god, it was in real life. You didn't have it on the VR realm, like stuff like that. But look, that's food for thought, right? I guess the cycle continues in that sense. Let me know if this brought back any memories for you guys watching. I'd love to know that down in the comments below. If you made this point, comment down a orange heart. I don't know, orange. I don't normally go for orange. It seems a bit playful. We're just going to go for orange today. Let me know if this was also similar to any of your childhood. If there's any other toys that you guys remember from this period that you played with, or maybe you weren't born in this period and you remember playing with some of these toys. I'd be very curious. Or does it remind you of something else? Or do you have any funny stories you guys want to share in the comments below that spawned from toys like this? Let me know those questions down in the comments below. You guys know I got curious, man. Of course, like the video before you head on out. I know it's easy to forget. I love when you guys make this disappointing video. Of course, you guys don't understand how much that supports me on the channel. You guys are real ones, and I got to make sure you guys remember that. If you guys want to check out some more of these kinds of videos, I have a playlist linked at the end of the video that you guys can check out, and some other videos that you may be interested in. But with that being said, guys, of course, I'm JayFlex. This is me checking out some dangerous toys from the 60s that are banned forever. No wonder. For those that made it to this point, you guys have been absolutely wonderful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.